Journey has a way of piling on, and I think we've all been there, right? When one task becomes five, one missed day becomes a month without momentum. One small doubt becomes a fog you just can't shake. We try to do it all, chase everything at once. The money, the body, the calm, the purpose, the perfect plan. We'll read every book, listen to every podcast, follow every productivity hack, and slowly, even without realizing it, we become overwhelmed by our own ambition. We create so much clutter that we lose ourselves in it. Too much input, too many opinions, too many voices in our heads telling us who to be and what to do and how to live. And it's in these moments, the heavy ones, that I go back to perhaps the most powerful tool in my arsenal. Surprise, surprise, running. The target is not to impress anyone. It's been a while since I've run for speed anyway. I'm not running to prove anything to the outside world. I run to remember, to strip away everything that doesn't matter, to filter the noise and return to something real, because running is, amongst other things, simple. In fact, it is perfectly simple. And that's why it's powerful. No titles or notifications, no algorithm, just the earth beneath your feet and the breath in your lungs. There's one thing to do and one thing only. You keep going until you reach a destination of your choosing. You push forward one step, then another. No, not because the world told you to, but because you decided to. There's something sacred about that. And when the world feels complicated, we need something honest. When we're spinning our wheels, we need something that gives us momentum back. Sometimes it's just about a clear finish line, something we can reach, something we can earn, something we can look back at and say, that was me. I did that. Music. And that's why I run, because the simplicity is what makes it so rich, so meaningful. It removes the extra and leaves only reality. What direction are you going and how quickly do you want to get there? There's not much room for additional detail or narrative in such an equation. I recently came across a story that I think echoes this idea. So bear with me. A curious man once visited a Zen master. This dude was searching relentlessly. He wanted calm in his journey. He had the resume and the degrees and the accolades and all that stuff. He traveled and meditated and studied. He achieved. He explained all this proudly, hoping the master would offer that one missing component, that final answer, to complete his puzzle. He wanted calm. And the master listened and then quietly picked up a teapot and began to pour. He filled the man's cup and he kept pouring. And he kept pouring until the tea spilled over the edge onto the table, then onto the floor. And alarmed, the man shouted, "Stop! This cup is full." To which the master smiled and said, "Exactly. You are like this cup, full of ideas, full of expectations, full of noise. And until you empty your cup, there's no room for anything meaningful. The space is being occupied by the wrong things." And that one hit me because, man, he is in so many ways me. He's all of us. And running for me is an effective way to empty that cup. It's not just exercise, it is a form of clarity. It's manufacturing reality. It's the thing that pulls me out of the chaos and drops me back into present where I feel weightless. Not because I'm moving fast, but because I'm finally letting go. Self-created finish line steps to get there. That's all. Things hurt. Okay. You adjust and figure out how to keep stepping forward. You get tired, fatigued, okay, figure out how to keep stepping forward. Sometimes you feel amazing, perfect, keep stepping forward. That simplicity is the ultimate power. And maybe that's what we're missing when we feel stuck. Not more effort, not more tools, but less noise. Seek out that simplification, that clarity. You don't always need to add. Sometimes the biggest addition is what we take away. We need to subtract. Let go of the weight. Let go of the pressure. Let go of the need to have it all figured out. Put your shoes on, step outside, and start running. Let the miles strip everything back to the basics. Because clarity doesn't shout, it whispers. And the only way to hear it is to quiet everything else. So if you're in a season where the world feels too loud, where your mind is spinning and the road feels uncertain, don't force your way through it. Empty the cup. Go find that quiet road. Let your feet hit the ground. Let your breath become your anchor, and the simplicity pull you home. The world will be waiting when you return. But you will come back lighter, sharper, stronger, and most importantly, you will come back as you. It's when we most want to turn around that we must keep going. When all we see is darkness that we must have faith in the light. It's when we feel most vulnerable that we must become unshakable. See, there's a misconception that strength implies a total absence of weakness or doubt, that courage means never feeling doubt or uncertainty, when in reality these things are human. They've been wired into us. As Ernest Becker has said, we are simultaneously worms and gods. Worms in that, sure, We are animals, flesh and bone, unable to avoid death or misfortune or tragedy in journey, but most importantly, God. In that we have the divine ability to transcend these inevitable circumstances, to find hope in this seemingly hopeless, to see opportunity in journey's obstacles and growth when we fall, to take the meaningless and give it meaning. And one of the most crucial things I've learned is that when journey knocks me down, pushes me to my limits, it's not some indication that I walked the wrong road. It's no referendum on who I am. No, it's a hand extended offering the chance for me to be more than I've ever been. And in a world of delusion and distraction, it's a reminder that we have the capacity to turn journey's hardship into a better tomorrow. The difference between fact or fiction, possible or impossible, achievement or setback, is the decision to get up when journey knocks us down. This world, it's not easy. It tests us, challenges us. It makes us think we are but a cog in the wheel of journey. It can be tough, but your weapon, your strength, is knowing that you are tougher. And look, I know that adversity hurts, but I also know that you're capable. While you are powerful enough to turn that battle into something meaningful where most would turn back, you have it in you to take one step forward. Let the walls crash down, the skies open up, and the ground shake. See, this is minor detail in your world. Transcend the average, the earthly constraints and the mental limitation. Remember who you are, why you started. Remember that when your surroundings attempt to pull you back down to earth, you have no interest in the narratives they offer to you. You are unshakable. So imagine years from now, way down the road, you're older, sitting on your front porch, kind of fists propped up under your chin. You're staring out and thinking about your journey. You're thinking about the decisions you made, the things you did and didn't do. What would you be thinking? What would you transformation? Would there be regrets? There's a lot of research around this topic, and in one of the most crucial books written on it by Bronnie Ware talks about the regrets of the dying. And one of them is wishing I had the courage to live a journey true to myself, right? So you're sitting there, you're looking out and you're imagining, what if you acted differently? What if you tried? What if you started? And you go back to that moment where you were looking fate in the eye and you had to make that decision, right? That singular decision. And it showed its face repeatedly, but the decision more or less remained the same. It was vulnerability or safety. Choose one, vulnerability or safety. Safety, that innate desire to not disrupt or test the way things are. Even when you know in your core there's more out there. See, safety is the wolf in sheep's clothing. Watching journey happen through a window is incredibly safe, but it means you're forfeiting the essence of journey in exchange for a front row seat to watch others live it. It means you don't capture that adrenaline that drives us. You don't take part in the emotion that excites us. It means you don't meet the people who would transformation your journey, and you don't see the places that would take what you know of reality and transform it. Number equating safety with contentment is the product of outdated thinking, an outdated operating system. It's indicative of a way of looking at the world that used to be journey or death. But now in 2020, in modern day society, it's regret, music. And the first step in changing something is to become aware of your current circumstance. It's to realize you're not wrong or guilty for thinking small or taking a back seat to doubt. That's what humans do. It's our default setting. But it's your fault if you don't do anything to transformation it. It's your fault if once recognized, you don't pick up the pieces and create a different narrative. You know, I always say, the most crucial changes we can make, they're simple. They're not easy, but they are simple. And that road to something new always starts with seeing beyond the confines of the world that you've accepted for yourself. Understanding the reality that dictates your reasoning, thought patterns, and decision-making can transformation. Because, my friends, if you can remember one thing and one thing only, it's this. Doubt is not the enemy. It is the ally you need most. Inaction is the enemy. Doubt is the enemy, not doubt. Seneca says we suffer more often in imagination than reality. Mark Twain has says, do the thing you doubt most, and death of doubt is certain. It's like jumping into a pool on a hot day. You get a second or two of discomfort before you can acclimate into something better. See, people are stronger than they think they are. They are adaptable. They are resilient. But to see this, we must move beyond the stories in our head. So, back to that rocking chair. You're thinking back that fork in the road, and maybe you choose the test you have, the one that scares you. And maybe you fall flat on your face, but you get up a little smarter, a little better equipped, and you keep going. And maybe you fall and you fail again and again, and then comes the criticism. But you see that maybe criticism doesn't kill you. In fact, it does nothing if you don't let it. And again, you pick yourself up and you carry on, and you pick up some allies along the way. You expand your skill set. You drive towards mastery. And day in, day out, you continue to fall, to trip. But eventually you look back and you see something you haven't seen before. Distance. And you realize you are not the same person you once were. You realize what you have right now simply through a process of falling and rising again. You have redefined your existence. You've redefined what's possible. You've redefined the people, the places, the things that matter. And it dawns on you that falling, that doubt, that the unknown wasn't the problem, that that's not scary. It's just part of being better. It's the cost of greatness. You've been looking at things wrong, hiding from exactly the thing you should have been running towards, allowing into your journey the very things that held you down, making you think comfort was the target when it was shackling your feet to the ground and advising that spectating was a good thing. No, not you. And when you sit down on that rocking chair and you look out thinking of the journey you made, let it be one of adventure, the failures that made you stronger, the wandering that unveiled journey's beauty, and the ends that became beginnings. Because that is the essence of a journey truly lived. Music journey's best, kept secret, simple. Show up. Show up when you're tired, you're down. Show up after defeat. Show up when you're stressed, when you're worried. Show up when you don't feel like it. In fact, that's when it's most crucial to show up. That becomes the great differentiator. See, a lot of us, somewhere along the way, we adopt this idea that winning is about the home run. It's stepping up to the plate and swinging so difficult that the ball leaves the park and it never comes back to earth. And while, yeah, that's a fantastic sentiment, and if or when that happens, that's great. But sustained achievement isn't one monumental occurrence. It's little victories consistently occurring over and over and over, very small. In fact, to those walking by, they're probably too ordinary to be considered successful or acknowledged. They're too mundane. Music. They're only victories because you decided they are. And when you think about it, the evidence is out there, right? Successful teams don't build game plans around the Hail Mary with no time left on the clock. No, they show up every day and master the task in front of them. They compound the opportunity available on a daily basis because it's there, and that puts them in a position to execute. However, the situation unfolds. They showed up when it, quote unquote, didn't matter. And that, of course, means everything when it does matter. And something I remind myself every day, and something I think everyone should hear. Those waiting for journey to hand out miracles will always be left behind by those willing to well show up when it's not fun, not sexy or exciting. Days when you're tired, when you're weak, when you feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders because, well, we all know that happens. We all know how easy it is for that to be the excuse or become the free pass, especially when you know in the back of your head this is practice, right? This is a representative. The world won't end if you sit this one out. But if you wouldn't sit out the real thing, the Super Bowl of your pursuits, then we have to understand the value of the mundane staircase leading to that event. Each seemingly insignificant step is your Super Bowl. It's not that it's close to the same. It has to be the same. It's the old saying, you play the way you practice, but turned way up. Now we're saying there is no difference. And when the lights are turned on and you're standing on that stage, it's not some new experience you have to figure out and navigate. It's the continuation of that staircase, of the old, of the familiar. You showed up then, and you'll show up now. When you were unsure of yourself then, you didn't hide. You trusted yourself. And now that same trust stands by your side. When you were tired, weak, when you had 9 million things on your mind, you didn't fail. You blocked out the world and you found clarity. And now that same clarity simplifies what lays before you. When you felt discouraged or the finish line felt too far away, you reacquired your meaning by simply executing, by being there. And now every part of you will execute here just the same. So while it's their Super Bowl, their championship, their one shot, this is your everyday. It's your DNA. It's watching that ball roll down the hill that you created, pushed by momentum you brought to journey. You'll do what you came here to do because you made that decision every step along the way, every single day leading up to now. Sometimes achievement is merely hanging on when others would let go, not doing anything spectacular or out of the ordinary, not leaping a mile or jumping over a mountain, but simply carrying on. Thomas Edison has a famous quote that's really stuck with me over the years. He says, "Many of Journey's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to achievement when they gave up," right? How close they were to the finish line when they turned their back and said it wasn't worth it. It's really an interesting thing to grasp, right? Achievement is seeing what others can't. It's believing when others don't. It's taking the abstract, those visions, those pictures in your head, the make-believe, and finding the courage to make them real, bring them to journey. It's this constantly evolving process, and it grows a little bit every single day. Sometimes we feel that progress, we feel the momentum, we do something big, and it's exciting, and sometimes the progress feels small, and then there are times when we get knocked down and we don't see it at all. We feel like because we weren't validated that we lost, that we failed, that it wasn't enough. We forget that's part of the process. That progress is a journey, and it goes when you go and it stops when you stop. Music. Just like that famous Dalai Lama quote, right? The only way to fail is to quit. Period. No one ever stops because they can't. They stop because they decide to. They stop because they see that huge mountain and they think that's impossible. They forget it's only made of little rocks. They stop because they get so disheartened by the distance of the finish line that they forget it only takes a collection of little steps to get there. You don't have to leap the entire distance. I've been there, right? This is me speaking from experience. It took me years to figure it out. And even now, journey is rapidly evolving. I've poured my heart into things that, let's be honest, no one cared about. I've invested in opportunities that fell apart right in front of me. And each time it felt like the end of the world. I've been lost. I've been unsure. Gotten up after things didn't go as planned and felt like a loser. I had to look myself in the mirror and pick myself back up off the floor. But there's one thing that I kept doing that I never thought twice about, and that's continuing on. Whether journey lifted me up or it beat me down, my plan for tomorrow was always the same. Get up and try again. Keep going. And as I sat down this morning with my pen and a piece of paper, I thought, what's the one thing I would want to be told if I started out again? What's the one thing that people need to hear most? And it's to simply keep going, keep taking steps. Because one day the world will start to make sense, and you'll look around and you will be thankful for one thing, that when most would have stopped, you didn't. When the world said no, you said yes. There is nothing so powerful as a soul that refuses to back down. See, persistence is not a crucial thing or an essential thing. It's everything. So live as to see. Not what can be lost, but what will be gained. Find that light in darkness. Even if it's a flicker, even if it's a spark. See, every loss makes you a little tougher, and every instant of sadness uncovers something beautiful. Every moment of doubt teaches you to be a little braver. Every broken heart opens the door to a new connection. Music. Instead of doubting yourself, feeling inadequate in journey's darkest moments, know that you need what you are going through. You are uncovering the little victories hidden in plain view. So when the world feels like too much and your patience is thin, be stronger than that voice in your head begging you to think small. Stand on every experience, the good and the bad. Let it elevate you to a beautiful tomorrow. Running into the storm. When the skies are black, the wind pushing me backwards, everyone and everything around me running away in the opposite direction. Ricky. Yet I continue on, step by step, to the heart of the dark, looming, ominous unknown. Is there doubt in some capacity? Yeah, of course there is. When everyone around you is acting in unison, doing the same thing, any rational mind's going to stop and ask, why do they know something I don't know? Perhaps yet I continue on. Initially, the battle isn't even physical. Raindrops fall, the temperature cools, the wind intensifies. I have to put a little more emphasis into every step, but there's no pain at the beginning. The battle is mental. It's a war of ideas, that unsettling feeling in your stomach. And whatever this is, this darkness overhead, it's certainly out of their comfort zone. Should it be out of mine? Am I brave or crazy, wise or naive? Living on the edge, or just being stupid? How fine is that line? Why expose yourself when the world takes shelter? What should I be afraid of? The water, the sound of thunder, the 1 in 280 million odds of a lightning strike. Why can't I completely separate my endeavors from theirs? Am I just wired to care this much, man? Just run. Turn up the music. Add the miles. Count the steps. Remember, I will understand why I'm doing this. This seemingly trivial pursuit. I know the pieces will add up. They always add up. Eddie, just trust yourself. Push through the heaviness in your legs. Isolate the doubt, the anxiety, the emotion that causes humans to act on impulse, to act irrationally. Your job isn't to follow precedent here. It's not to conform to normal or do what anyone else does. It's to continue into the storm. And I do. And then, like all things, it ends. I arrive, I hit my turning point, my destination. Still alive, predictably, unharmed, but uneasy. Like I missed the memo, like I'm disrespecting this norm at the expense of an unwritten social contract. However, I am in too deep now. I'm obviously not calling a cab. I'm halfway there. So, I am running back. And the second I make that 180-degree transition to part two of my journey, I get it. I mean, you really can't help but get it. The light bulb has to illuminate. The wind is now at my back. Not only is it pushing me along, it's pushing me along after having to trudge through it for miles. The tables have turned. Now it's this buy one, get one kind of deal. And I don't think I could slow down if I wanted. The previous stress and resistance had me work overtime simply so I could acquire and appreciate this feeling of bliss. It reminded me of the old days, sitting down on the floor after a 2K test on the herb, dead, winded, exhausted, finding peak happiness, and just being removed from the hell that had just transpired. In that window, you see journey differently. I could walk up to that same spot and sit down any day of the week and it would mean nothing. But after that 2,000 meters, it was heaven. And here I am recapturing a small piece of that on this very sidewalk. The sidewalk that I walk down all the time, unaware, unmoved. But now I am light. I am flying, suddenly becoming less and less aware of my surroundings. The streets are empty, but they might as well be Times Square in December. I'm in a world of my own. And look, I understand why most people would skip this little excursion altogether. The first 50%, it is sheer intimidation. The castle walls threaten, but don't people wonder what's inside? Don't they know that you can't learn to fight back at Journey if you don't allow yourself to get hit or take a jab once in a while? Look, the point is not the run or the storm or the street. The point is that you don't know what you don't know. And a journey of continuously seeking shelter ensures that ignorance lives on. If you continuously follow the crowd, you don't get to carve out a space for yourself. You don't taste excellence, that moment of temporary euphoria. And sometimes I forget that. Honestly, it's easy to forget that, but that is why I run. There's always the initial question, the physical and mental turmoil, the pulsing temptation to just stop. After all, this is definitionally unnecessary. I could go away. I could live, wake up every day and exist without this. It's not needed. It's not required. But at some point, whether it's the middle, the end, or after I've crossed the finish line, I remember. At some point, it always hits me. I'm awarded that feeling of completion, a high that can't be found unless you've paid for it. See? People run towards security. People run towards safety because it's instinct, because they don't know. These trivial runs, they teach me over and over again that you literally do not know what you're missing until you grab doubt by the hand and take it along for the ride. And yes, I feel doubt. Yes, I feel the anxiety of the unknown. But they don't stop me. They don't dictate my result. They are nothing more than those dark skies overhead and the rain in my face. They are along for the ride. I run through them while they watch, silently observing as I transform into something extraordinary. That discomfort, it did not deter me. It made me. And that's why I run. Music, music, music. Sometimes when you don't know where you're going, the best thing to do is go there. A wise man once stated that an object at rest stays at rest. And while his rationale is a little different than mine, I'm going to borrow from his premise, right? Because when you move, even if you don't know where you're going, you put yourself on a collision course with something. You put into existence an entity to react to. Some call it destiny. Others call it fate. I call it simply initiative. Because if your journey is hypothetical, you have nothing to celebrate nor correct. Music. A sailboat can adjust its sails once it leaves the harbor, right? It can learn from and manipulate its surroundings, make sure it arrives at a destination, right? It learns and adapts along the way. But from the harbor, it speculates. It expounds upon a road that might be straighter, might be faster, might be more thought out and tied together than the crazy sailors who took off for the horizon. But in actuality, it goes nowhere. In the real world, it is stagnant. And I could be wrong, but I'd make the argument 10 out of 10 times that the real world is where we want our result. And my proof, well, a journey that started with insurance and evolved into music and songwriting and audio production, then video production, then creative writing, then a sweet spot that kind of combined everything. A spot that didn't make its way to my inbox with an exact address. A spot that required a lot of setback and lessons learned and disappointment. But man, more than that, so much fun, right? My proof is sitting down right now in real time, letting my fingers create a bridge from nothing to something of value. By the way, after sitting here staring at a blank screen for hours, it's just starting. Could I be wrong? Could I screw up? Could I wildly miss the mark? Yes. In fact, it happens more than I'd like to admit. But here's the beauty. Even if I am wrong, I now have something to work with. Something has been brought into existence. And well, that means I'm officially further along than I once was. And I've heard over and over again that there is no perfect moment, that you have to just go. And the idea, I mean, it makes sense. It's impossible not to understand. But it's one of those things that until you feel it, doesn't mean anything. How can you miss something you've never experienced? Well, to put it in a way that helped me understand, you aren't going because what do you have to lose? You're going because everything is to be gained. The answers that you pick up along the way, like a little coins you pick up in Super Mario, right? You have to start collecting pieces of a puzzle that you can then arrange. I truly believe that one of the most crucial ideas we need to hold on to moving forward is personal agency, self-belief. And I say that because I feel like I'm watching it slip. There are cases where we literally don't know or understand that it's within our own ability and command to transformation our lives. No person or group or letter in the mail is going to come along and greenlight your idea. In fact, you might not even really know what your idea means or how it will look. And that's not only okay, it's amazing. It's the marble that you get to chisel away at, to create something. See, journey is not the perfect execution of a plan. Journey is the courage to make your way into a world that no one really understands or knows anything about. And I'm not talking physics or biology or quantum mechanics. I'm talking about the real journey that is emergent from those areas of study, right? There is no perfect formula for happiness, but it will always be true that immobility or standing still is antithetical to progress. And there is plenty of data that supports the idea progress equals happiness. We want to move towards something. So that's what this is about, right? Here's to not being scared of what we don't know, because somewhere in the realm of what we don't know exists what we need most. So yeah, stop waiting for the perfect moment. And yes, begin, but not because it's an ultimatum. Applause. Music, do it because the things that make journey fun and intriguing and exciting and ultimately worthwhile, they live on the other side of your front door. Music. Why is it that when we look back on our lives, it's never the easy days or the simplicity? It's not the calm that changes our reality or makes us who we are. Don't get me wrong, calm and simplicity, they're wonderful, but they're not transformative. And why would they be? Why would we transformation or seek to obtain more without a reason or incentive? It's times of battle, of turbulence. It's when journey was difficult that we had to rethink who we are, reshape the way we look at the world, right? Because without chaos, you don't get calm. Without the storm, you don't get those crazy neon colors and golden rays it leaves as it passes by. In order to triumph in any capacity or any area of journey, there's always a sacrifice that must be made. The adversity is the fire that forges the iron. There's a saying, difficult times create powerful men create good times create weak men, and weak men create difficult times. It's a cycle, and this is generally used in a psychopolitical sense, and I think in a lot of ways it applies today, but where I've really found it useful, where I found value in it, is at the personal level, because what I've noticed is that growth also appears to have a cyclical nature. And when we're in a rough situation or overcoming an obstacle, we have to push, we fight, we grow. Sometimes without even realizing it, we achieve a result. And by default, this transformation that in one way or another makes us something new. But then it becomes easy to level out, right? And that's the test. It creates this period of stagnation. It's like we made the jump and it becomes real easy to stay there. And that's why I have found value in when journey is not providing resistance to manufacture some, because that's the only way to grow. Progress is happiness. Viktor Frankl in Man's Search for Meaning, he says purpose is to find from battle. If things are too calm or simple or quiet, journey begins to lack meaning. And that's never a spot we want to be. Journey is about the pursuit of something. You just have to figure out what that blank will be. You get to decide which mountain to climb. There's a story about a butterfly making its way out of a cocoon, and it makes a little hole. It starts attempting to push its way out. Someone walks by. They see it struggling and open the cocoon up to help the butterfly out, right? thinking that they did this great deed. But in doing so, that butterfly has now lost its ability to use its wings to fly. Why? Because the strength that was necessary to fly would have been forged when he fought his way out. The butterfly was deprived of the very thing it needed to become something more. And that's the point. It's easy to get lost in the now and seek to eliminate everything that doesn't make the moment more comfortable, to remove that which doesn't make things easier. But whether we're talking about collectively or the complacency in our individual lives, we have to remember that avoiding discomfort isn't the answer. When your biggest problem is Amazon taking 5 days to deliver, or that your feelings are hurt by someone's comments or opinions on social media, you've lost track of yourself. You may be living in a world lacking the resistance necessary for growth. Maybe it's time to ask what matters. And I remember when I lived in Boston, I'd walk around listening to podcasts downtown, and I'll never forget hearing Ryan Holiday differentiating between passion and purpose. He called passion temporary, a dopamine hit. It's the excitement before the project begins, the beginning of a journey, the honeymoon phase. But passion alone falls short, and it falls short because anything worthwhile is difficult. It tests us. It repeatedly presents us with those metaphorical cocoons we have to fight. We have to earn our stripes, grow our wings, and if we stop at passion, there's no reason to battle on, to take the punches, knowing that they will create for us a tomorrow full of infinite possibility. And that's where we need purpose. That's why it matters. We need something bigger to march towards a destination that's meaningful, to remind us that those challenging times, they're not a burden. There is no poor me here. They are the fire that sharpens us, that whispers to us not only the importance of carrying on, but the power contained within ourselves to do so. This world, it is not stacked against you. It's never the problem or the obstacle. No, it's the opportunity laid out at your feet. And it's in those very times when we're uncomfortable, when we're unsure, when we don't know where to draw our strength, that we need to remember it comes within. It's an idea that is brought to journey through courage, through understanding, through the trials and tribulations of journey that didn't intimidate or hold you back. Knowing that journey has given you everything you need to blaze your trail. So don't be afraid to let it take you somewhere new. Music. Music. If you're lucky enough to be different, don't let go. Music. I spend a lot of my time and energy exploring the power of perspective, how our reality is determined by how we interpret what's in front of us. How one person can look at one thing and see pain or a problem or a barrier, and another person can look at that exact same thing and see opportunity or a future win or a bridge to something better. And I think one of the best examples of this is how we perceive those qualities that make us unique, those things that put us in a different category. Maybe we're a little hesitant to fully embrace because they're not common. And when it comes to that which separates us from everyone else, well, I believe we have a decision to make. I'm going to go back to Robert Frost's Fork in the Road, right? He says, 2 paths diverged in a wood. I took the one least traveled by, and that made all the difference. On the surface, you could easily brush this off as trivial. It's like, oh, nice, that's cute. He took the road less traveled by. But what does that mean? As it turns out, it means a lot. It means instead of burying what makes him different, he made it his battle cry. Instead of slipping under the radar and sneaking through journey like so many of us do, he signed the dotted line for the pain of being a beginner, the battle of being uncertain, the self-command and sometimes torturous road that is turning a passion into excellence, trading calm of mind for the pursuit of meaning in journey. Exploring what makes you unique, it takes courage, and in that message he chooses courage because it's not just that you're alone. Taking that road means every step of the way your mind screams at you reminders that you're alone. It's not just fighting traffic patterns, it's fighting your DNA. It's resisting that impulse to please sit down, shut up, and blend in. So is it a trivial decision? I'd say not really. Maybe even the most crucial decision you can make. Because I promise you, it's not your commonality with those around you that will bring fulfillment, that will leave a mark on your journey and the world that surrounds you. No. It's that thing that's unequivocally you. That's a little out there, that's somewhat strange that you don't know why, but its gravitational force pulls and pulls and pulls. A tug of war where one side begs you to just relax, conform, do less, begs you to never be laughed at or criticized, to take the easy road. Then you have the other side poking, prodding, asking you, hey, yeah, but what if you sacrificed the comfort of right now? What if you explored? What if you took that which you compassion and you ran with it? What if you worked for a delayed payday? What if for a moment in time when people ask you what the plan is, you have to look back and say, you know what? I'm not quite sure what I'm building, but I'll keep pivoting until it's so clear you can see it from the moon. Those are the paths that pull us apart. And every time I've lost my way, it's because I've doubted my unique road. And I mean that every time. It's when I become impatient with the journey or look around and see someone else winning in a different arena using different methods, different strategies, see the latest trends and achievement formulas. Hey man, I want part of that, right? I'm human. I want to win. I want to succeed. Music. But just like a little opening is enough to let in the outside water that sinks the boat, well, a little bit of doubt is enough to derail your process. The process that you have to believe in, protect, nurture, music. A process that I've come to separate into two pieces. Number one, believing that the exploration of that thing that makes you unique, it's valuable, that your abilities mean something. They're not inconsequential. They're not stupid or trivial or unnecessary. If it means something to you, it will most certainly mean something to others. And you bringing it to Journey not only helps yourself evolve, grow, flourish, it helps the world. You just have to believe that enough to bring it to Journey. That's number one. Number two, trusting that as long as you don't stop in pursuit of your unique self, you can't lose. You can't lose. And I don't mean continuing to ram a square peg into a round hole. I mean growing, learning, experimenting, seeing what works. There's a saying that when you hit a dead end, it's not that the target or the aspiration should be abandoned. It means the plan needs to be changed or adjusted. And as you get better and more experienced and continually work to adjust your strategy and your plans, learn from your mistakes, it becomes a matter of time. You increase the odds with every step forward. Being different is the most precious thing afforded to you. But to realize that miracle requires a combination of both the mythical and the practical, the imaginary and the real. Aspiration, that aspiration. Visualize that growth. Create a world out of those ideas that don't exist yet. But also understand that the conversion process from aspiration to reality is a practical one. It requires repetition, learning, losing, adjusting, and people don't like that. It's much easier to blend in than spend years pushing through the agony of setting yourself apart. But it's worth it. And the evidence is so obvious, so plainly pointing to the fact that we only celebrate the outcasts, the crazy ones. We sit around campfires, listen to lectures, watch movies and documentaries about the people that had every reason to doubt themselves, but kept moving forward. About the people who could have swept their unique abilities under the rug, but instead used them as their foundation for everything. Not being distracted by what's popular or how anyone else lives or operates, not seeking to be anyone but themselves, knowing that that is enough, knowing it's the seed to something precious. The only question is, will you provide the right conditions and nourishment for that little seed to grow? Will you do what so few people have the courage to do? Let their authentic selves shine through. Let who they are emerge. Emerson has a quote. He says, "To be yourself in a world that's constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment." He goes on to say, "My journey should be unique. It should be an alms, a battle, a conquest, a medicine." And see, perpetual happiness is a fool's errand. No, journey is full of trials and tribulations and ups and downs. But fulfillment comes from that quest for meaning, for more, for building something, for creating your unique self, a process, a pursuit that must be chiseled from stone. It's never given or provided. It has to be found, taken. And as Emerson beautifully implies, now is the time. The question is, what are you going to make with this once in a lifetime opportunity? What will you make of the possibilities that only you know, only you understand, that only you can bring to Journey? Never doubt yourself or your gifts or the things that set you apart. You don't need everyone else to believe in them. You just need to convince yourself. Everything else, it falls right into place. If Denzel Washington's words moved you today, don't just stop here. Subscribe now and join a community built on strength, growth, and unstoppable motivation. Together, let's rise higher every single day.